Hello, good evening everyone. How's everybody doing? So, my name is Daniel. I'm the Associate Executive Director of JCC Brooklyn, KBY, and I think this is the first video that I have ever recorded in my life. Whew, so excited, right? So folks, we know that everybody is very much having a tough time dealing with our current zombie apocalypse, staying at home, being responsible, washing our hands, being with our kids, and I am struggling together right there with you. I've been spending quite a number of days with my 5-year-old at home and with my beautiful wife and our amazing dog, and at this point I think she's ready to kill me. The dog is absolutely ready to kill all of us, and my kid is climbing on every possible wall around us. So, with that said, I'm on the staff of JCC Brooklyn. We decided to do something awesome. We decided that each of us is going to join our community members, join our teachers in our preschools, join our staff, our specialists, and share something from ourselves. Typically, I would do something with cooking because I absolutely love to cook. And I like to think that I'm a pretty decent cook at that. But since that would take a good 45-minute segment and I'm just not that good with the camera, I figured one of the things that we're going to do today, instead of cooking, is my second passion. Recently, I've been getting into mixology, into getting drinks. And since it is 5 o'clock somewhere, and definitely here, today I wanted to give it a shot and teach everybody a little bit of what I've learned about mixology and make an amazing drink. One of my all-time favorite drinks comes to us from Peru. It's called a Pisco Sour, and it's a very light, refreshing drink. So today, actually, we had a little bit of sunshine out right after some rain. So to me, this is a good drink that is going to lift you up, get that energy going, get that spirit up, which is just going to be amazing. Well, before we get started, first things that I want to say is that I did wash my hands, sang the alphabet song and the happy birthday song, and I rapped a little bit. You don't want to hear that part, but before we get started, I want to kind of go over some of the things that I have here and share with you folks about sort of what your essentials might be for a typical mixology evening with your friends, or just making drinks for yourself, your better partner, and so forth and so forth. So here are some of the things that we have here, some of the essentials. So first, of course, we have our mixing cup, some of the things that we need, definitely an essential. This is good for any types of drinks, any types of mixing. You lock it up. Look at that. That's going to go into our bloopers. So you lock it up right here. If you take a look right here, there's already a strainer built in. Close it up, fill it in with some ice, fill it up with ingredients, and this is where you see all of those fancy shaking. And for anybody who's old enough to have seen Cocktail with Tom Cruise, this was one of these. So definitely an essential to have. A few other things that you definitely a must-have is you have to have your measuring cup, so you know how much ingredient is going into your drink. This is a 1 ounce and a half an ounce, and you can have the larger ones which kind of mix around. Typically, I would prefer a 2-ounce one, easier, because most drinks that you're going to make at home or anywhere for that matter really require about 2 ounces of alcohol. So it's much easier, kind of a 1 pour and you keep going. Then you will need your long spoon, definitely a good essential. If you don't have it, if you don't have many of these things, you can really substitute with anything that you can find at home. One of your large tablespoons can do just fine. What you also want to have is you want to have your sifter, something smaller. So when you're working with ingredients that are aromatics, or if you're working with lemons, your limes, your lemons, your oranges, and things like that, a lot of stuff, a lot of pulp is going to get into your drink, and you want to be able to sift it right out. You want to be able to strain it and make sure that none of that gets into the drink itself. You want to have your juicer, so there's lots of ways to make different drinks. So today, for example, in the Pisco, so the basic sort of standard Pisco Sour is made with your Peruvian sort of wine, vodka-ish kind of style called Pisco itself. It's 40 proof, quite strong. But you get about 2 ounces of this. Typically, you're going to go with about 1 ounce of, maybe a little less, of lemon. I prefer to use lime. I think it gives a little bit of a different taste and a different acid to your drink and your sour. And of course, you're going to work with your sugars. There are a couple of different ways to really get the sugars, the sweetness. So again, I started out from cooking, and everything in cooking is about balance. You want to have your fats, you want to have your acids, you want to have your spices. drinks, I really think is about the same thing. So in a Pisco, you're gonna have your Pisco Sour, in a Pisco Sour, you're gonna have your Pisco drink. You'll have your sours, which for me will be lemon and lime. Typically you go with just lemon. You're going to have your sweets, which is your sugar basis. So this is a simple syrup. Very easy to make if you don't have it from the store. And funny enough, in New York, liquor stores are essential, apparently. So all of them are definitely staying open. But this is quite simple. In this one in particular, it's 1 part sugar, 1 part water. So you take a cup of sugar, cup of water, heat it up on the stove, mix it in until the sugar disappears, put it in the fridge. When it cools down, right here. Or you can do what I did and purchase it in the store. Either option would definitely work. Then what you have, this is probably the trickiest part of the Pisco Sour, is you have your egg white. So you'll need to separate the egg yolk from egg white. Knowing me that I like to screw around and mess up, I have a spare. And at the very end, you have your option of bitters, which basically, this is kind of like your seasoning, right? So at the end of the food preparation, you throw in your seasoning. Your bitters are pretty much that. It will give you that aromatic smell. It will give you that extra taste. And you have lots of different options. You have the standard Angostura bitters, which you can get, orange bitters, and lots of sort of different types. Today I'm going to use Angostura bitters, which is sort of like your gold standard and you kind of go to. So I think we're pretty much there. A few other things that you definitely want to have. Your juicer, and I prefer, you could buy your acids, you could buy your sours in those mixes in a store. I prefer the real deal. Just taste fresher, better, easier. And you have your peelers, just in case if you need a little garnish for the drink. You have your paring knife, so that you can make slices and so forth. And then you have your cups. I actually don't happen to have the right kind of cup, and yes, this is one of those weird things that I found out. Apparently each different drink has to have its own cup. So usually you'd use something shorter, something like this, maybe even shorter, a little square. It looks beautiful, looks pretty. Unfortunately today, this is the shortest one I have. I have one of each, a tall one and a short one. So I'll try to show you the drink once it's prepared in a better way. So we'll use one of these, we'll see. Depends on how I'm feeling. So let's start building our drink. One of the first things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your lemon, that you have you start with your sours. So what we're going to do is going to be sort of a 3-step process. First is our prep and getting our lemons together. I will, just for the garnish perspective, in case if I decide to use it, typically I would not, I would use something the bartenders call a coin, which we can use for flavor later on. You cut off a small piece, keep it on the side, we can work on it, work with it on the rim, and it creates a little extra smell, a little extra zest if you need it. In the interim, we're gonna cut our lemon in half. Depending on the type of juicer that you use, this one is more round, so I cut it in the middle halfway. Cut our lemon in half. Get our tumbler in, squeeze it out. Now we can measure if you want. At this point I'm pretty much sure that about a medium to a small lemon, so half of it will give me what I need, but you could measure because we're looking for half an ounce to start with of of acids together, so we can measure it out. Here we go from the lemon. We are going to also add our lime. And you want to place it face down. This way all the juices come out through these holes right into where you need them. So we're going to fill it up. About another half an ounce. A little less. There you go. Mix it together. What you want to do is you want to get your Pisco in there as well. We need about 2 ounces. So this is a 1 ounce cup, so we'll need 2 of these. There's 1. There's 2. You will need your ounce of sweets. Remember the balance between our sours and our sweets. So this is our simple sugar, about 1 ounce to 1 ounce of sour and 1 ounce of sweet, keeping our flavors balanced. And now the trickiest part, let's get our egg in there. So we're going to get started. Okay. I'm gonna crack our egg, and remember, we only need the egg white. So the yolk has to stay. So we're going to be extra careful not to pierce that. There we go. Just the white part, and the yellow stays. Perfect. Wow, I was sure I was going to mess this one up. So here we go. Brilliant. So this is going to stay. Sounds like tomorrow my kid is gonna have an omelet. So here goes that part. Now, you always want to have, this is actually probably the most needed ingredient, is a rag for you to clean your hands. You always want to have it available and next to you. So we have our sours, our limes, and our lemon. And remember, typically it would be just the lemon. We have our sweets, which is our simple syrup made of sugar and water. We have our Pisco, and we now have our egg white. So the egg white is what's gonna give, if you've ever seen a Pisco Sour, you have that beautiful, fresh frothiness on top, that extra fizz. That's gonna come right there from the egg. So first thing that you wanna do is you want to make sure that this is actually very well mixed. Before you put in the ice, you're going to what is called dry shake it. So you're gonna close it up. There are a couple of different fancy ways to do it. I'm still practicing lots of YouTube videos. So first things first, once you sort of lock it up, what is going to happen is that as you start shaking this, dry shaking, the egg especially is going to expand and the oxygen is going to expand. I've had this kind of blow up on me a couple of times and go all over my clothes. So for today, I'm going to start with a 2-hand shake, right? And we're going to, this is if you have people around, you got to make a serious face so people can really see that you're working very hard. Right? And if you're super fancy and super strong, you can already one-handed, and this is when you can get fancy, do different things, different styles, and so forth. I am nowhere near there, so don't follow any of that nonsense. So, but let's vigorously shake it up. What this does, it creates that little fizz, really mixes the egg around and creates this light, beautiful flavor right into the drink. So, the moment that you're done with this, we're going to spin it out, spin it around, and we're gonna add our ice. So with ice, if I ever do another video, I will probably do this as well again, and I'm gonna tell you something about ice. So this is the typical ice that comes out of my refrigerator, right? The small one. This is the ice I'm gonna use today because none of the ice is actually going into my drink. It's gonna make my drink cool, but none of it is actually going inside. So when I do drinks, for example, one of my favorite drinks is an old-fashioned. In a cup like this, what I would use is this beauty right here. Totally worth the purchase. I think it was like 10 bucks, maybe less for this. But I would use one of these big square pieces. Reason to use this versus the smaller ice is because they don't melt as fast. So there's not a lot of water content that goes into your drink. Plus, of course, looks gorgeous, looks very classy. Compensating for the fact that I can't produce all that class on my own. So we're ready for our ice. We're gonna put a little bit of ice into our Pisco Sour drink. Okay. Who can be cheap on the ice, right? So we're gonna close it up. And this is where, so you see the container is completely clean and clear. Once we start shaking it, it's actually going to become cold very quickly. So the ice is actually going to chill down the container beautifully. So take a look. You see the froth already right on the container? Beautiful. So that means our drink is ready. We're getting ready to pour. Give it one last shake. So this is where I typically have problems. Oh, there we go. Let out some air. So which cup are we going to use today? Large or small? What's going to give you a better view? I'm going to start with the large just to get you the view so you could see how it comes out. I'm going to use there's a strainer in here already for larger pieces. For the smaller ones, I'll start here and we begin to pour. See how beautifully it comes out? Look at the color. In a shorter glass, it will look absolutely better. This is a very large glass. So you see right on top that white foam that's forming. Most of that is coming from our egg. We're going to take our spoon just to push this through. Get some more of the foam in there to make sure none of the pieces of anything else go in there. Look at that, messed up already. Okay, it's on the inside of the glass. So here we go. So we are almost there. So at the very end of the meal, one of the things that I do as I cook is I finish seasoning our meal. So here's the finishing touch, the finished seasoning on our meal. Angostura bitters. So our bitters, we're gonna put a couple of dashes in there. And this is where, if you had a shorter glass and it's easier for you to sort of play with it, this is where you can decorate the inside and you can really make kind of like, you know how they do it on your coffee? They make those beautiful designs. You can do about the same thing here if you want. And that's it. And that's our Pisco Sour. I'll bring it a little closer so you can take a look. And so you can look inside. Not sure if that's visible. But the smell, it is just citrusy and smells of summer, smells of Peru. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful smell. Folks, from all of us at JCC Brooklyn, we hope that you are staying at home. Please do, be safe. We hope that you're having an amazing time. We absolutely love everyone in our community. We love our families. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Until next time, cheers.